Hello and a very warm welcome back to the channel. It is nearly the end of August and amazingly, disappointingly, I'm having to wear wellies and even a jumper. It's quite chilly at the moment. We've just had a big storm go over the UK. It hasn't really stopped raining for the last 36 hours, but I have very much put my faith in various weather apps today, which all were consistently pointing towards the sky starting to clear as dusk came over this part of the world. And despite the fact it was raining very hard on the 40-minute journey or so on the way here, I think those apps may well be correct. I can still see some high cloud. Hopefully that will disappear. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't. So I am at a place called Woodwalton Fen, which is in Cambridgeshire, about a few miles southeast of Peterborough. And this is a designated dark sky discovery site. So this should be a relatively dark location here. And this fen is one of the last remaining true original wetland fens left in the UK. There's only about 4 or 5 of those sites. You've probably seen me shooting at Wicken Fen before. This is another one of those sites. So from a nature conservation point of view, it's a very precious area. And the site was set aside and preserved by the Rothschild family of banking fame. And in fact, the strange structure you can see behind me is called the Rothschild Bungalow, and that was built by Charles Rothschild in the early 1900s, just after he acquired this site for preservation and conservation reasons. And you can probably see that the bungalow is built up on concrete stilts, and that's because all of this area in the winter floods. It's very wet ground in any case, and in fact this whole area of fen is surrounded by a clay bank, and this area becomes a reservoir for surplus surface water when the river system can't take the volume. So at times this area is allowed to deliberately flood, but it's also a naturally flooding area as well. So the bungalow is up on these nice concrete stilts that are piled deep into the ground, and I've got 2 shots planned for tonight, possibly some more, but at least 2, both of which are centered on this bungalow. The first will be a star trail shot pointing north, which is that way. So I'll hopefully be able to get down nice and low on that side of the bungalow, get the bungalow in the foreground and some star trails over the top of it. And my second shot will be roughly from the location you're at there of the bungalow, with the Cygnus region and the Aquila region of the Milky Way sitting plumb vertically above it. And that will start to be the case at about 11:30 this evening. You can probably see the horizon lines around here are quite complicated. There's a lot of trees around here, and it's quite a tight space. I don't want to have to sort of leave the paths here and risk damaging some of this habitat. So I'm slightly constricted for space, and as a result of that, for the Milky Way shot, I'll probably do my sky images just outside the fen, where there's a slightly better horizon for me to play with. It's very humid here today. It's been raining all day. You can probably see my glasses are starting to steam up. So I'm definitely going to have to get out the dew heaters, certainly for the star trail shot and quite possibly for the Milky Way shot as well today. But thanks very much indeed for joining me. Let's get on with it. Definitely feels quite hemmed in taking this shot, but I think by the time I've got the sky laid on as well, it should hopefully feel quite nicely opened out. So, okay, so I think I'm going to have to do at least 2 shots here, and I'm actually wondering whether I use the 14mm rather than the 24mm, because I think I'm struggling with space here, unfortunately. Okay, I think this will probably be better. Okay, well, that certainly gives the bungalow a little bit more breathing room. I think I'm going to need to do a 2-shot vertorama though to get all of these trees in that are behind me. I think it'll look very weird if I don't have the tops of those trees in. Okay, well, having seen my first test shots on the back of the camera then, whilst the composition works, the bungalow is very dark and there's not much definition between it and the trees in the background. So I think I'm going to have to light paint it, which is what I will get on with now using the LED panel, which I usually use as my video light. Well, I've got to say it's reasonably dark in this site, which is what you'd expect with it being a dark sky discovery site, but it's the first time I've ever been to one of these, and you know, we're nestled between Peterborough and Huntingdon, you know, not the darkest part of the UK, but still great to be in a dark location. And if you haven't seen the Milky Way before and you came here, you would very clearly be able to see the Milky Way. I can see right above me here the Cygnus Rift and the structure in the Milky Way in that lovely Cygnus region. So they're fantastic sights to have. What was a real shame was on the way in to the site here, within a couple of 100 yards of the entrance, there were farms with big LED lights outside just spilling out into the countryside. So thankfully within the reserve here it's very nicely dark, and you could certainly enjoy a truly dark night sky for the first time by coming to somewhere like this. Okay, hopefully we're all ready to go on the Star Trails shot now. Got my composition nice and low. I'm shooting with the Canon 6D, the Sigma Art 24mm f1.4 lens. I've got that stopped down to f2.8. I'm shooting 15-second exposures with a 1-second interval at ISO 800. And just before doing this shot, I did a couple of light painted foreground shots as well, so I get the foreground nice and bright. You'll notice I've got the dew heater on. Definitely needed tonight. It is super dewy down here where it's been raining so much, and it's also quite cold, so I'm not taking any risks with that for a change. So hopefully that will last as long as I need. It's quite unusual for me to do a 24mm Star Trails shot, but because I need the 14mm to do the sky shots for the Milky Way on the bungalow, this is the widest lens I've got beyond 14mm. I'm actually only going to have a relatively small slither of sky above the bungalow here, so I think hopefully just a couple of hours of Star Trails should get a nice effect here. But for now, let's go head back to the car, make a cup of tea, and then do the sky shots for the Milky Way. Oh, that's miles off, I assume, from when we were in Italy. Perfect. I'm now working on the sky shots with the 14mm. I'm doing 2-minute exposures, ISO 800, tracked using the Move Nomad, and I am at f2.8, I believe. I will check that. Oh no, it's a manual lens. I'm at f2.8, I know that. Okay, so let's check that out. The stars are nice and sharp, but looks a bit blown out on the horizon there, which I think are the lights from Huntingdon. It's quite close to the right hand side of the histogram, so I think rather than doing 2-minute exposures here, I'm just going to tame those back to 90 seconds, but otherwise this should be a reasonably good shot. Okay, so that's about 25 90-second tracked exposures done there. I think possibly the last 5 or so might have been impacted by a little light covering of dew on the lens. It's really hard to keep dew off this 14mm lens in these sorts of conditions. A dew heater really doesn't cut the mustard with it because it's such a bulbous, thick lens at the front, and it's very difficult to get the dew heater wrapped around without actually appearing in the shot. So very often I just don't bother and hope that the breeze that's around will keep the dew off. It was clear that the moon rising there is causing a bit of lightness in the sky. So I may have lost a bit of detail there in the Milky Way. But what I think I will do, because I've got time, is to take a few H-alpha shots and then blend those in with the RGB shots that I've taken just now. Just give the lens a bit of a wipe. I'm now going to shoot the H-alpha shots. I'm going to do 3.5-minute exposures, and I am at ISO 3200 f2.8. I really hope the H-alpha shots create a bit more pop. It's clear with the moon in the sky, I'm losing detail in the Milky Way almost by the minute. That moon is quite bright. There's obviously a little bit of haze up in the sky as well. So it's not ideal conditions to be shooting the Milky Way, but it is all I've got tonight. So hopefully H-alpha will help me make the most of the night. So whenever I take H-alpha shots, I just feel completely incompetent. I don't use the H-alpha filter that much out in the field when I'm nightscaping, and so whenever I do get it out, I just completely forget what the process is. I struggled tonight with getting mirror lockup to work on the camera. I've then forgotten that when I click the shutter on the intervalometer, the first click is just the mirror lockup working. It's not actually opening the shutter. All of these things are entirely preventable with practice, so I just need to get back into practicing with H-alpha, and particularly over this winter coming up and the autumn with the Cygnus Milky Way in the northwest, which has got lots of that lovely nebulosity in it. I hopefully will just get a little bit better at it. Well, while those H-alpha shots finish off, I'm going to start packing up. I'll head off back to the bungalow in a second to go and collect the camera that's doing the star trails shots. It's been fun coming out tonight. I've been a bit hampered by dew. I've been a bit hampered by moonlight, but after the rain we've had over the last few days, it's just been nice to be out. The sounds of the wildlife here at Woodwalton Fen have just been incredible. They've accompanied me all night. Foxes, muntjacs. A short time ago, I obviously disturbed something that then ran off into this field over here, and my goodness, was my heart pumping as it ran off. But I've had an enjoyable night. I don't think any of the images that I've taken are going to be showstoppers. They're not going to be competition winners, but that's not what it's all about. It's just about getting out under the stars, enjoying the solitude, enjoying being out in nature at night. So hopefully, if the images turned out to be any good, I'll put them on the screen at the end. If you got this far, thank you very much indeed for watching. Really appreciate you watching, but also commenting as well. Really enjoy interacting with you after each of these videos. So if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like, subscribe if you've not already done so, and I look forward to seeing you again on another adventure very soon.